The NBA Gambling Podcast on the Sports Gambling Podcast Network is presented by WynnBET. WynnBET is now live in Arizona, Colorado, Indiana, Louisiana, Michigan, New Jersey, New York, Tennessee, and Virginia. From boosted same-game parlays to live in-game odds, WynnBET has what you need to win. Sign up today, bet $100 and get $100 at sportsgamblingpodcast.com/WynnBET. That's sportsgamblingpodcast.com/WYNNBET. State restrictions apply. Roster brought to you by the SGPN merch store. Head over to store.sportsgamblingpodcast.com and use promo code MADNESS for 10% off orders of $40 or more. Welcome, everyone, to the NBA Gambling Podcast, part of the Sports Gambling Podcast Network. It is Tuesday, March 7th, currently 11:35 on the East Coast. Here to break down the Tuesday betting card in the NBA and we'll recap what we saw in the association last night. But join me here to help me break it down on this Tuesday episode. You guys know him as the newest voice of the NBA Gambling Podcast. It's Delonte Smith. Delonte, what's going on, my man?
Not much, man. Just ready to break down some of these games. Hopefully we get some good ones. And LeBron won't have to tweet that his son is better than some of those guys on the floor today.
I feel like that was a subtle shot towards Grant Williams, but we'll get into that. And also joining us here, you guys know him as the voice here on the NBA Gambling Podcast, and of course on the Tennis Gambling Podcast, the WNBA Gambling Podcast, and the NFL Gambling Podcast. It's Scott Studio Reichel. Scott, what's going on, brother?
Nothing much. Looking forward to going through the Tuesday card. I know that the Monday one was pretty interesting. You had a couple of games go down to the wire. You also had a couple of games that did not, so it's kind of somewhere in the middle. But yeah, overall, hopefully the Tuesday games are competitive, and hopefully we make some money.
Yeah, it's been a pretty good couple of days in the association so far. Sunday was a great day. You know, we saw Phoenix and Dallas. We saw the Clippers and the Grizz game. Some close games yesterday. We saw some come from behind victories as well. Another game for the Celtics that went into overtime. And then the Atlanta Hawks and the Miami Heat really coming down to the wire. Atlanta, shout out to DeJounte Murray for getting me that late cover with that 3 at the end. But yeah, it was a pretty good night in the association. We'll just recap our picks here real quickly from yesterday. My lock did not come through. I had James Harden over on his points prop at 22.5, but he did finish the game with 14 points, but he did have 20 dimes in that game yesterday for the Philadelphia 76ers. And then my dog was the Atlanta Hawks. Did get the cover against the spread, like I mentioned there, but fell short of the outright victory. Terrell had the Sacramento Kings team total over, I believe it was 121. They finished the game with 123, and then he took the Toronto Raptors on the money line. Looked great through 3 quarters. Saw some, I guess, theatrics, we can say, because of Scott Foster at the end, and they got outscored to the Toronto Raptors 35-25 in that fourth quarter to get the outright victory for the Denver Nuggets. So hopefully we can bounce back here tonight in the association. I think we have about 8 games here tonight. But Scott, let me start with you. Last night, what kind of stood out to you? What didn't stand out to you? But how was your night as far as betting yesterday?
Overall was pretty mediocre. Ended up basically splitting in the NBA, and the hockey I ended up not having the greatest night. But either way, it happens. But I feel like in general, the only main takeaway that I had was the Celtics, again, who blew another double-digit lead for the 3rd straight game. They lost again, and there you go. I just feel like the Celtics are a really bad team down the stretch. Couldn't even blame Mazzulla last night because you had Grant Williams doing Grant Williams things, but Mazzulla wasn't actually at fault for once, and they still lost the game. I'm trying to think what's even worse. The fact that Grant Williams bricked both at the line, the fact that he told Donovan Mitchell he was going to make both, or the fact that under no circumstance should you make both because it's a tie game with less than a second to go and Cleveland has no timeouts.
Yeah.
Under no circumstance should you be trying to make both free throws. So there's really a couple of ways to kind of dissect that Grant Williams situation. Marcus Smart almost had the tip-in of a lifetime there on that second missed free throw. But I don't really have much more to add. Boston is just a team that can't win games late, and I roasted Udoka for having some issues closing games last year. this isn't even close. Like, this is significantly worse than Udoka's late game struggles were last year.
Mhm.
Mazzulla looks over his head half the time, and they can't close games. Now, I know that they were shorthanded yesterday, and it was a back-to-back because Tatum and Horford didn't play. But every time they're up double digits, it feels like they lose the game. Every time. So
Yeah.
I feel like Boston's got serious problems. That was kind of my main takeaway, where I felt like Boston was a team that talent-wise could be the best team in the Eastern Conference just based on depth, but they just don't know how to actually function late in games, and I'm assuming it's going to come back to bite them.
I think so too. I think that you nailed it. I mean, some games have been Joe Mazzulla's lack of coaching or experience, at least in late game situations. And then a part of it is that they're just giving up the leads in that fourth quarter. I think we've seen that now in consecutive nights for the Boston Celtics. So um, I think the foul call on, well, I think it was on Grant Williams at the end there on Donovan Mitchell. I think that was a little questionable call there.
They even
Um,
challenged it, and it stood because there
yeah,
was a little hint of body contact there
yeah,
on the reverse layup, which I didn't think was much. I probably wouldn't have called a foul, but if you're going to
yeah,
review it, there was some contact, and Mitchell
sure,
missed. But it
I
didn't
don't think.
matter anyway because when you get an 80-something% free throw shooter, I know Williams doesn't go to the line a lot, and I believe those were his only 2 free throw attempts of the game. But when
hmm
you have an 80% free throw shooter at the line with less than a second to go, the foul call on the Mitchell layup doesn't mean much because you have to hit a damn free throw.
yeah.
You know?
Best case scenario for Grant Williams was to make the first and just purposely miss the second one, and
Yeah.
they would have won the
Mhm.
game, or at least just even if you miss the first one, made the second one, it would have been a very difficult for them in 0.8 seconds without any timeouts to
And there was no
even
doubt in
probably attempt a
anybody's
shot.
mind once the game went to overtime that Boston was going to lose. Like,
Yeah,
there was no doubt in anyone's mind that Cleveland was just going to win the game at that
yeah,
point. But it's just the fact that this team has been one of the title favorites for a while. I thought they would be the 1 seed after about a month. I thought they'd be the 1 seed because they were just dominating. And they're a severely flawed team, or they have one extreme flaw that has come back to bite them time and time again. Now they're able to overcome it against some of the weaker competition, which is why the record is so good. But in a
hmm
playoff series, when you potentially are facing off against the Knicks, maybe in the second round, and the Knicks are up 3-1 in the regular season head to head, and Brunson didn't even play in
yeah.
that Sunday game, and they
hmm
still beat you. And when you have to go probably against Milwaukee on the road now, because I'm assuming Milwaukee will probably be the 1 seed based on how many games Boston's punted,
Yeah,
I got to assume it's going to come back to bite them in the playoffs, one way or another.
yeah, I agree. Delonte, takeaways from either the Celtics game or overall last night in the association.
Yeah, I was always worried about the Celtics, and they get complacent in these big leads. I mean, it is hard to sustain a big lead in the NBA with the great shot makers that the league has. But at some point, you gotta be able to at least okay, they're gonna go on an initial run, but you gotta at least be able to withstand it and keep it at least steady. I mean, obviously nobody's gonna. I mean, rarely do we see a team coast from up 20, up 25 to win by 2025. It's just the players are too good in the league for that to happen.
Yeah,
But at some point, whenever they make that run, you got to just simply just say, okay, we're just going to go back on our run and close them out. But Boston, they do have problems with that. I mean, honestly, I know that Scott was talking about the Milwaukee Bucks, but Philly is only 1 game back in the loss column of Boston, and
yeah.
Philly's playing really well right now. They struggled a little bit last night with Indiana, but Indiana's playing really well lately. But that's something to look at too. Like I would take a look at some Philly division odds. I got Philly earlier in the season at I think like 4.5, 5-1 to win the division, but they should be somewhere around there right now. But they're only 1 game back in the loss column. Like so, it's not outrageous for them to make a run. And Philly's been playing extremely well. I think Boston has a tougher schedule, if I'm not mistaken. The guys in and out of the lineup, it's not helping at all. Yeah, I mean, I'm like on the fence. I'm not as worried as some people are because I think still in the playoff setting, when you got two of the best wing players, Jaylen Brown being one of the better two-way guys in the league, that it's going to get a little bit better for them in that postseason when they got more days off, when they
hmm
have the rotations tighten up. And scheme wise, I think Missoula will try to put together something. But yeah, man, I'm not really like ready to call Boston frauds like my man Real, but I am worried. I am worried about the leads that they blow, and just it's not that teams are just like outplaying them. It's just that they just get complacent. Like they get like, okay, it's over. We can just relax. Like they stop running their offense. They stop playing defense, which is what they're made of. Defense is how they run their sets. So yeah, man, I'm worried about Boston, but not to the extent as everybody else. I think once they get to the playoffs, they'll be fine.
For the record, by the way, Philly is officially 2 games back, but they do have 1 game in hand. And Philly, I found a plus 750 to win the division.
Yeah, I mean, but in the loss column, it's only 1 game back, though, right?
In the loss column, it's only 1 game.
Yeah,
that is correct.
Yeah. So I mean, that's not bad. I seen Nick was saying Philly schedule and stuff. Okay, maybe I had it.
I'm just saying it's plus 750 if you want to take a flyer.
Yeah, I mean, hey.
Yeah. I mean, yeah, they got a victory. I mean, I don't want to say a huge victory, but a game where there was absolutely no defense being played in that Philly and the Pacers game. I think they both had like 110 plus, I think, at the end of 3 quarters. But I mean, that was probably a game where you probably had same game parlay potential with Embiid scoring 42. Hallie had a great game again, 40 points, 16 assists for him in that game. But Philly does get the victory. They do have a game here tonight as well. We'll get into that later on in the episode when we break down the games. But yeah, anything else that stood out to you guys? The Atlanta Miami Heat game, I think that was obviously a big game for both teams fighting for that division in that Southeast division. Now I think the Heat now have a 2.5 game lead over the Atlanta Hawks. Like I mentioned, Heat get the victory there, 130-128. DeJounte Murray and Trae Young did bounce back in this game, but it just wasn't enough, especially in the fourth quarter where the Atlanta Hawks gave up 38 points to the Miami Heat as they got the victory there. Scott, anything else from last night you want to mention?
I'm trying to think if there's really anything else to talk about. I mean, Sacramento won again. Lillard had a triple-double in 3 quarters, but it's against Detroit, so I'm not really going to read much into that. But you mentioned the Philly game. It wasn't really any like big takeaway long term, but I was just confused by what the hell Indiana was trying to do defensively in that game. They just decided to double team Harden the entire game and just let him get 20 assists. I have no idea, but they kept double teaming him, and Harden just kept finding wide open guys the entire game, and he ended up with 20 assists. And Indiana still gave up 147 points. I don't know what the defensive game plan was there. Munaf had the over for Harden points. I might have had the over as well in a parlay, and it didn't get there. But just watching the game, like Harden at 7 shot attempts through 3 quarters or so, and they still gave up 110 plus points in 3 quarters. I don't know what the defensive game plan or alignment was in that game. It feels like Indiana just kind of spins a roulette wheel, and whatever it lands on, that's the defensive approach for the game. But no matter what they do, they still give up 130 points every game.
Yeah,
they're trying new stuff, I guess, because they're bored, but it didn't make any sense to me. I was really confused by the actual defensive game plan for Harden, because we know Harden's leading the league in assists. So double teaming him doesn't do anything, and they gave up 20 assists. Like I don't know what exactly the thought process was there.
Yeah, and I mean they're 2 back of the 10 seed, if I'm not mistaken. So Washington is 16. Yeah, so they're 2 games back. So I mean, they just haven't been playing defense, and I seen that, and I thought I was seeing things. I'm like, why do they keep do they not know that Harden is more comfortable like as a passer? Like he can score, obviously not at the rate that he was scoring, back 3-4 years ago. But
I would switch something up. They got 115 points or so after 3 quarters. Like you might want to try something new, but now they just let Harden get a bunch of assists. I don't really know what the game plan was.
On the backside of the rotation, when they're bringing a double, they just swing the ball really fast and dump it to Joel, and he's 1-on-1 on the inside, and he probably ends up with Miles Turner, who's undersized, or whoever else they have playing, Jalen Smith, and he's destroying both of those guys. So yeah, I thought that was odd too. But I'm worried about the Pelicans, and I don't know if like some of the Willie Green love is like wearing off. Like I don't know what's going on. I know they're dealing with injuries, but they shouldn't be this bad, man. They're like borderline horrible. Like with talent, like they have talent, they're just borderline. And I know
he's got immunity because Zion got hurt.
Yeah,
when Zion was healthy, they were what, like a 4 seed when he got injured?
I think they were like top 3 at some point. But yeah, I mean, obviously,
I expected more from him anyway because I had a preseason Coach of the Year ticket on him. But at the end of the day, when Zion got hurt, you kind of figured this team would struggle. Not to this degree. I think that them falling off a cliff wasn't fully expected.
Right.
I've never been a big Ingram guy, and I've never been a big McCollum guy. I think that they're fine,
I'm a big
statistically
Ingram guy.
speaking, I've never thought of either of them as being winning basketball players. And I know that might sound mean for McCollum because he kind of carried Portland in that game 7 against Denver a long time ago to carry them to the Western Conference Finals. But I feel like those are two shoot-first guys that don't really play any defense, and they kind of thrive in isolation situations. I've never thought of those two guys as being guys who I trust to carry a team if I need them to carry. And from what we've seen, neither of them are capable of carrying.
Yeah.
Is that a fair statement?
Sure.
Yeah, that's true. That's true.
Yeah, I mean, I think the Zion thing obviously is huge for them, right?
He's never gonna be healthy though. Like
and that's the problem,
no,
right?
but what were they supposed to do?
healthy.
Are you supposed to let him walk? I think they had to pay him.
Yeah,
right?
you had to.
No.
Yeah, you had to pay him. But
yeah,
I mean, we'll see. Hopefully, he's able to come back sooner rather than later. But obviously, when those three guys are on the floor and healthy, it's a winning basketball program, right? Obviously, with Zion on the inside, Brandon Ingram able to knock both Ingram and CJ McCollum able to knock down their jump shots, and then I know they're also dealing with some injuries, right? Jose Alvarado, like their energy bunny off of the bench, he's been out for about a couple weeks now, so they've really had to go down the bench depth there, where the talent at that end of the bench may not be very good. So, and they've been really struggling scoring the basketball. If you kind of just go through their game log, they kind of peak like at 106, 108, or 110 points. Like that's their ceiling there at 110 points. But right now, that's not going to get it done for them. So hopefully, I don't know if they do get Zion back before the end of the year, maybe gets a couple games into his belt and get into that play-in tournament.
Right?
Yeah,
it feels like it at this point. They look like they are going to miss it.
Yeah,
but
what is it? What is it to miss, Scott? You got that pulled up?
I'll pull it up right now. But
yeah,
I would located. It's not going to be a big price. I mean, I feel like their odds are kind of 50-50 right now. I don't think they're going to get there because I'm not sure Zion's going to play. Anytime you miss roughly a month and change with a hamstring injury and you've had several setbacks, I don't exactly have trust in you to make it back onto the floor. And even if he does, then he's going to have to ramp himself up again, and it's going to be a whole thing. So I'm probably not assuming that Zion plays again for the rest of the year. Pelicans to miss, I see minus 170. That's the playoffs. I don't even see the play-in. I just have odds to make the play-in. I don't have odds to miss. But to miss the playoffs is minus 170. That feels kind of free, doesn't it?
Yeah, I'd lay that.
Yeah, a little bit. Yeah, it really does.
And I see that I see that Productions is mentioning how Zion didn't play much of last year. That is true. A reminder that they had a kind of a Cinderella run in the playoffs. They were 36-46 last year. Like, they weren't a good team. They just became better because they started off so badly, and they had a little bit of a playoff moment where they came together. And it turns out Phoenix is overrated because Dallas kind of torched them in that game 7 where Phoenix showed that they weren't as tough as we thought they might be. But they were 10 games below 500 last year. It wasn't like they were a juggernaut. They just kind of clicked at the right time. They weren't good last year. That's kind of my point.
Well, last year they turned around when they made the CJ McCollum trade too, right? Like they got him at the trade deadline. So, I mean, obviously,
and I feel like teams were underestimating them because they were so bad in the standings for most of the year, and you kind of just penciled it as a win. This year, after the playoff run, I can't even call it a run because they lost in the first round. But what people saw them, and I feel like they became more of a team to worry about, and they kind of had a bit more of a target on their back. So I do kind of wonder last year how many teams just underestimated them, and they just came in and just sneakily beat teams that weren't fully prepared to play them.
Yeah, and if Booker was out for that series, right? If he would have played, it probably 4-game sweep, 5 gentleman sweep or something.
Yeah, I think he missed like a couple games in that series, I believe.
I think that might have been the series that he got hurt. I'm not sure. I have to go back and look.
He got injured, and I think it was like game 2, and then he came back in like game 5. Yeah, but Chris Paul had one of the best game 6s I've ever seen because he didn't miss a shot the entire game. People forgot that happened. He went like 13-13 from the floor or something stupid. Like people forgot that happened.
Yeah, but he always loses big games. That's why they forget.
Yeah, he won that one.
Yeah, he did.
All right, guys. Let's get into the well, before we do that, let me tell our listeners about our presenting sponsor here. That's going to be WynnBET. WynnBET is the official online sportsbook of the Sports Gambling Podcast Network. WynnBET is active in a bunch of states, and there are a ton of ways to win, including live betting and same-game parlays, aka WynnBET's Build Your Own Bet. March Madness is almost here, plus plenty of ways to win getting down on the NBA, NHL, and the XFL. Sign up today to receive a special offer. Bet 100 and get 100. Limited state availability. And of course, for our DGens only, if you hit the biggest long shot parlay of the week, you get $1,000 free credit. There's so much to choose from. All you have to do is head over to sportsgamblingpodcast.com/winbet so they know that we sent you. That's sportsgamblingpodcast.com/WINNBET. Offers subject to change. Terms and conditions at winbet.com. Must be 21 years or older and present in a state where playthrough WinBet is available. If you're or someone you know has a gambling problem, call 1-800-522-4700. All right, guys, about an 8-game schedule, I believe, here in the association. Let's kick it off with the first game on the board. We're going to go with the Milwaukee Bucks headed down to Orlando to take on the Magic here. This line opened up in favor of the Milwaukee Bucks at -7.5. The number's now been bet down to -7. Looking at the injury report for this game, I am currently seeing Giannis is probable here tonight. Drew Holiday is questionable. Wes Matthews is going to be out for this game, and Goran Dragic, who just recently signed with this team, is going to be out. Delonte, why don't you lead us off here, man? Milwaukee in Orlando here tonight to take on the Orlando Magic.
Yeah, man, I don't want to step in front of the Bucks by any means unless it's against a good team. I think they live by destroying those bad teams. Like, they handle their business. They don't play around. They don't let teams back in it. They're really good on the road at 32-18 and 3 as a favorite. They just dominated the Magic by, I think, 8. They were laying 8.5 and they dominated them. I think they won 144 to like 111 or something like that. And I mean, they shot 48% from 3 and they held the Magic to 22% or 27% from deep. I mean, obviously they're not going to shoot, that good, but their defense is pretty much why I don't want anything to do with the Magic. The Magic have been pretty up and down, like as far as they won one, lost one, lost one. So, they don't have any consistency. I mean, you would expect that from a young team. They do play well at home, 17-15 ATS at home, 32-21 as a dog. So I just don't like the matchup for them. They get to the line at a really good rate. Like, they're top 5 and getting to the free throw line, but Milwaukee defends without fouling. So, I mean, that negates some of the easy baskets they have and getting to the line. I would lean to the Bucks. I mean, I don't want to lay it, but if I had to play it, I'd lean to the Bucks.
Scott?
Yeah, I'm in the same boat. I'm going to lean to Milwaukee as well. They just played about 6 days ago. Milwaukee beat them at home by 22, scored 139 points. Milwaukee is the much better team, and they have beaten up on weaker competition, which I think bodes well for them here. Orlando has been, not great, but compared to how they started the season, they've been okay, I guess. Going over the win total preseason, which I know that Munaf and I liked, so that definitely counts for something. So shout out to them. But I got to go with Milwaukee here. I just think at the end of the day, Milwaukee's got too much talent. Orlando is a young team. They're interesting moving forward, but I think we can agree that if Milwaukee is fully focused for this game, Orlando is not going to have many answers defensively to stop this team. And Giannis could walk into 35. He could walk in for a legitimate triple-double this time. There's a couple of ways for Giannis to dominate this game. And we know Orlando's had no answers for Giannis since he came into the league. Nobody has, to be fair. But it feels like he especially torches Orlando. I'm going to lean to Milwaukee. I just feel like Orlando's a team that you can argue is more feisty at home, but when you're against one of the best teams in the league, I don't think that home court's going to be enough. I think they're going to need to actually get some steady contributions for 48 minutes. And Milwaukee's got length in the interior. They have depth. They have Giannis, who's the best player in the league. I'm going to go with the Bucks. I just feel like they're going to bury another bad team.
Yeah, I mean, the thing, before you go, Munaf, the thing with why I can't take them, they don't have any advantages. Like, the things that they do well, Milwaukee defends well. Like, they're really good in transition. Milwaukee is like top 2 in points per possession allowed in transition. Actually, number 1. And they shoot the corner 3 well. They don't shoot the 3 as well, but they shoot the corner 3 well. And Milwaukee is second in defending the corner 3. So, I mean, they don't have, when I have to bet a dog, I want them to at least have some kind of resemblance of a matchup like advantage. But I don't see any matchup advantages for Orlando other than Milwaukee having an off night, and you never want to make a bet on a team having an off night.
Milwaukee has won 13 games in a row against this.
I was going to say
Orlando
they
Magic
kill
team.
Orlando all the time.
And they've won, I think, 12 out of those 13 games by 7 points or more. The earlier matchup this season, back on December 5th in Orlando, Milwaukee only won that game by 7 in that game. I want to see if everybody was playing in that game or not for Milwaukee.
I'm assuming
Yeah, they had
Middleton
it.
was still out at that point.
He was there, but he had a
Oh, he
really
was?
bad
Okay.
shooting night. He was 1 of
Yeah.
11
They were
from the
missing
floor.
Middleton in this year's matchup, I think.
Yeah, in 2023. Yeah. So yeah, I'm with Milwaukee here as well. 12-5-2 as road favorites this season. They just own, like you guys already mentioned, they own this Orlando Magic team. So I'm gonna lay it here with the with the Milwaukee Bucks. Some guys pointing out, yeah, why don't other teams have the same mentality of the Bucks, just bury the shitty teams early? Championship mentality. I think that's just
Giannis,
what it is
yeah.
for the Bucks and Giannis. Yeah, they don't let teams back in. So yeah, I mean that's why they've been a cash cow against the spread as well. Let's go over the total, gentlemen. For this game, I'm currently seeing the total opened up at 232.5. The number's actually being money is coming on the over actually at 233.5. Scott, thoughts on the total?
I'm going to lean over, but I think I'd rather take Milwaukee team total over because if it's going over, Milwaukee's going to score like 125 minimum. But we just saw them play on the first, and Milwaukee scored 139 points. They won 139 to 117. Orlando just had a 240-point game against Portland. Defensively, they're not great, and they haven't exactly played like it, but Milwaukee offensively, I'm assuming is going to walk into 120, 125. So I think I prefer Milwaukee team total over because if Giannis plays, we've said it before, you said it was 13 straight. They can never guard Milwaukee. I just think Milwaukee's going to do whatever they want offensively again.
Delonte, thoughts on total?
Yeah, I'd lean under simply because I don't think that the Magic can do anything to score. I mean, a lot of their points come from free throw line, and Paolo usually struggles against Milwaukee. I mean, in the small sample size, he was 4 of 13, only went to the line twice. So, I think that's who they go to when they want a bucket or who leads them. And he's been pretty good for a rookie also. I mean, he's scoring like 20 plus in whatever many games. I think he's got like the rookie record for that or something like that. But yeah, I just don't think he'll be able to get going. So without Paolo, I don't think they have enough offense to get to a number. I think what is it 220 or the total is 230?
233 and a half, I think.
Yeah, so I mean, you got to think about them getting to what, like 110, 115. I don't think Milwaukee's defense is going to allow them to do that.
That's why I mentioned Milwaukee team total because I think they can do whatever they want in this game.
Yeah, and another key thing with Milwaukee is that their mentality doesn't change once those second rotation guys come in. Like they still play just as hard as the first guys, which is why they can mix in so many lineups. And I mean, notoriously, Coach Bud is really good against bad teams. Like even when he was in Atlanta, they bury bad teams. And it was similar to the Bucks. Obviously, they didn't have Giannis, but as far as the depth and how they played, it's a similar style if you want to, compare apples to apples. But yeah, I would lean under. I wouldn't play it, but I'm kind of with Scott too on the team total.
Yeah, I lean full game under. Orlando since the All-Star break, number 22nd in offensive rating. Milwaukee defensive rating is number 3 in the entire league since the All-Star break. About a 6-game sample since the All-Star break, like I mentioned. Let's get into some player props. If you guys have any, Delonte, why don't you lead us off with player props?
Man, I got 0 because I don't think
I
don't have anything that like I don't see any advantage or any trends that look in my favor.
Scott, do you have anything for player props?
If I was going to pick anything in particular, it would probably be pivoting to maybe a Lopez prop because he's done very well lately. I really do think Giannis is a shot at triple-double in this game, but the problem is the price is relatively low. I think it was around 9-1. I'm not jumping on that. I just think that Giannis's assists are in a decent spot for this game, but they're far from guaranteed. I do think, though, after he got the last one rescinded, maybe he has extra motivation to put together a triple-double in this game. Maybe. So I think that there's a shot for Giannis triple-double. I think he'll probably have a good overall stat line. But I think if he's healthy and this game isn't a blowout at halftime, probably Giannis points. I think it was around 32 and a half, 31 and a half. I could see him going for 35 in this game.
Yeah, I forgot to mention the injury report for the Magic, but Wendell Carter Jr. is questionable here tonight, as well as Gary Harris. So just keep that in mind if you so choose to burn your money with the Magic here tonight. All right, let's get over to the next game of the night. It's going to be the Washington Wizards in the Motor City to take on the Detroit Pistons. Looking at the lines for this game, the Washington Wizards open up as a 6-point road favorite here. That number's been bet up to -8.5. Total opened up at 229. Money has come in on the under. Starting to see some 223s pop up, but consensus right now is around 224, 223.5. Looking at the injury report for both of these teams, for the Washington Wizards, Kyle Kuzma is a true game time decision with the right knee injury. Monte Morris has already been ruled out, I believe. He's dealing with the lower back injury. For the Detroit Pistons, not yet one submitted because they did play yesterday against the Portland Trailblazers in a game where I believe they may have pushed on the spread, but obviously they got they lost the game outright. But Scott, why don't you lead us off with this game? Washington laying about 9 points in the Motor City here tonight against the Pistons.
So even though Detroit's a bad team, and it seems like they have half their team questionable for this matchup, with Hayes being questionable, I'm not a fan of Hayes. Bogdanovich is questionable. That is a big deal. Duran's questionable, but Bagley and Wiseman have kind of taken over the starting front court positions for the last couple of games, and Stewart's questionable as well. I think I'm going to lean to Detroit. I feel like it's a spot where people are going to blindly take Washington because this team's been better lately, and Detroit is not a good team at all, being 15-50. At home, though, they are a bit feisty, and I do think that the spread's a little bit large. Kuzma's questionable, too, so it's not like Washington's completely clean on the injury report. But based on the overall spread in this game and the fact that Washington, who is 15-19, is laying roughly 8 points on the road, I'm not sold on that. Detroit was competitive against Portland yesterday. Now, I know that they are playing a back-to-back, so that could be a bit of a reason why the line is so big. I'm not laying 8 with Washington on the road, though. I think I'm going to lean to Detroit.
All right. Delonte, what you got for this game?
Yeah, I wouldn't bet either team. If you had to play something, I'd play the Wizards in the first quarter. They're close to 70% in the last 10 games of covering the first quarter. They come out usually in play really well offensively. Pistons are off the back-to-back, correct?
Yeah, they played Portland yesterday.
Yeah, so they're like right at 500 off of back-to-backs ATS wise, but I'm not looking to take the Wizards laying that amount of points on the road. The Pistons have been playing well. If I'm not mistaken, they're one of the better ATS teams since the All-Star break, if I'm not mistaken. But I just don't trust either team. I would rather get in and get out. I love the Wizards in the first quarter, so I play that and probably the under.
Yeah, I'm going to go with the Pistons here tonight as a home. Washington, I don't want to say struggled in Detroit, but they're not getting the victories haven't been by margin, at least. The last time they won by 10 or more points was back in 2019 in December. But since then, 2 losses in Detroit by 20 plus points. And then they had a 3-point, and the last 2 victories in Detroit has been by 3 points only. So I think this number is a little bit stretched at 9 here. So I'm going to go with the home underdog here as well on the spread. Let's get over to the total in this game, gentlemen. Delonte, thoughts on the total sitting at, let's go with 223.5 currently on WinBet.
Yeah, I'd lean under. The Wizards, they don't bring their offense for the full game. They usually just bring it for the first quarter, especially on the road. Although their offensive rating is the same, like exactly the same on the road as it is at home, they just don't score as much on the road. I don't know what it is. And I see somebody in the chat was talking about like the interior presence of Detroit. Detroit does have guys on the inside who can combat with Gafford and Bill getting to the rim. So I don't think there'll be a lot of points scored. Pistons offense is horrible. I don't think they'll be able to score. I don't think Pistons will be able to score like 105. The Wizards might get to like 108, 109. So I'd lean under if I had to play it.
Scott, total?
For me, I think I'm going to lean to the under in this one. Detroit's on a back-to-back, so I do think fatigue could result in some tired legs in the second half, but it's mostly potentially a lack of pace. But I'm looking at Detroit's last couple of games offensively, 104 against Portland, which is really bad, by the way, because that's Portland we're talking about. Scored 90 against Cleveland, but you're looking at Washington, and their games recently haven't exactly been the most high-scoring either. I do think at the end of the day, this game is going to be competitive, so I think you're going to end up seeing potentially a slowed down half-court battle in the fourth quarter. I'm going to lean to the under. I feel like this number is a little bit high, and to go through the head-to-head meeting this season, That game landed 219 back in October, so it was a while ago. But I am going to go with the under in this one.
Yeah, I'm agree with you guys. I think there's an underplay here. Detroit, no, they struggled obviously offensively. I know they had that one game with Chicago Bulls where they put up 115. But other than that, it's kind of up and down for them. So I think this number is a little bit stretched at 2. Washington, like you guys mentioned, I think both teams are obviously dealing with injuries as well. So again, we talked about it with kind of like who's the team we talked about earlier that's dealing with injuries? The Pelicans. So they kind of got to go further down their bench, and maybe the quality is not there when you're missing your top 8 or some of your top 8 guys due to injury. So I'll go with the under here as well. Let's get some players. Scott, do you have anything for this game?
If I was going to go for player props, it's pretty difficult for Detroit because you don't know who's playing for them in this game. I probably would consider Jaden Ivey assists because I don't see him on the injury report, but Hayes is. So if Hayes is out, I think that Ivey's going to have the ball in his hands a lot more. And I'm still not sold on Washington's backcourt defensively. So I think Ivey assists could be worth a look, maybe points if you want to go that route. But I see that Strutter's mentioning Marvin Bagley and how his PR could potentially be a little bit low. I don't mind backing him or Wiseman. I think Gafford is a decent center for Washington, but the issue is he's in foul trouble all the damn time and he can't stay on the court. So I do think Detroit's front court should have some success in this game. We know Porzingis is more of a finesse big man who doesn't exactly compete well for rebounds. I think Bagley's in a pretty good spot to get rebounds or Wiseman. So probably one of those two I'd be tempted by.
Yeah, I'm probably with you on Bagley. I like Jaden Ivey points, rebounds, and assists. I think with Hayes out, I think he'll be able to dictate a lot more. He's actually been flying under the radar, playing extremely well. Maybe not like in the stat sheet, but as far as his play, I like what I've seen from him in the.
Wait, from who? Hayes?
No, from Ivy.
Oh, okay, from Ivy. Okay.
Yeah, from Ivy. So I like how he's been playing as of late. I don't think that the Washington defense will cause any resistance. So I like Jaden Ivey points, rebounds, and assists over. Also, something to look at. I like Bagley. Also, I would probably try to parlay Bagley and Wiseman double doubles to see what you can get for that. I think that's a good look tonight because they're both going to get to the line. Washington fouls at like the top rate in the NBA, so they're going to get to the line. They're going to get putbacks. Gafford is really the only point of resistance on the inside that they have,
and so he's never on the court because he's in foul trouble all the time.
Right. So with the length and size that they have inside, I think both of those guys can have pretty decent games. I could look for, it don't have to be pretty. It can be 12 and 10. It can be 11 and 10. Shit, it can be 10 and 10 as long as we get there. But I like both of those guys, double doubles.
Yeah, I was looking at Delonte Wright's assists here tonight. I know.
I thought you were going to say rebounds and assists because he's been good at both.
Yeah, I mean, you could go either way. Let's try to pull up his game log here. He's averaging at least in the last 5 games, 4.4 rebounds, 5.4 assists. That number's probably going to be at 9.5 for his combo. Let me see if I can find it here. Let's see. Assist and rebounds. Delonte Wright.
I see 9.5 at plus money. I see plus 105 on 9.5.
Yeah, I like that for Delonte Wright here tonight.
I think you mean DeLon.
Or DeLon, my bad.
That's all good.
DeLon, right?
if I was in the NBA, we wouldn't be on the show right now.
Yeah. DeLon Wright. I'm sorry. Yeah, rebounds and assists here tonight. I think that's a good look. He's been getting assists in the past couple games. He had 5 against the Bucks. He had 7 and 11 against the Raptors, and he's also been able to get some rebounds. So I think that's worth a look here tonight. All right, guys. Anything else for this game?
Yeah, I got nothing.
I don't have much. No, it's tough when you don't know who's going to play for Detroit.
Yep. All right, let's get over to the next game of the night. The hottest team in the association right now, the New York Knicks, are going to welcome the Charlotte Hornets to town in this here tonight. Looking at the opening line for this game, the New York Knicks opened up as a 9.5-point favorite. That number's been bet up to -10 now. Total opened up at 228. That number's been bet down to around 226 right now at consensus. Looking at the injury report for both of these teams, let's start here with the Charlotte Hornets. We already know about LaMelo Ball, and Cody Martin is also going to be out for this game. For the New York Knicks, pretty clean injury report. Jalen Brunson is officially questionable here tonight. He's sitting with a sore left foot. But yeah, they're pretty healthy at this point of the season. Let's start here with the side. Scott, why don't you lead us off with the New York Knicks laying 10 points against the Charlotte Hornets?
I don't know how I'm supposed to take Charlotte. Martin might not play, right? I mean, that's a huge fact. No, I'm taking the Knicks. I'm not gonna overthink this one. You can argue maybe they're fatigued after the overtime game on Sunday, but based on what I've seen from this team, Charlotte's got nothing to offer. And the only thing that can really stop the Knicks in this game is if they just overlook the Hornets. But at the end of the day, the Knicks have won 9 straight, as you said before. Quickly has been incredible. Brunson maybe plays. Maybe. I'm not sure yet. He's questionable.
Need him to play?
No, but the point is you still want, Brunson to play because he's the best player on the team, in my opinion. But shout out to Randall, though, has had a great year. But the Hornets are just horrible, and it's not their fault. They weren't a good team to begin with, and Bridges had his off-the-court issues during the offseason. Now LaMelo got injured, and they're getting smacked. They've lost 3 straight games by double digits, and I think the Knicks should be able to dominate at home once again. I do think that a good play here is the Knicks' first half. I got it at 5.5 last night. It's up to 6. The Knicks are number 1 in the league in first half ATS record. They have the best first half record in the league. The Hornets are dead last. So if you want to talk about a huge disparity there, the first half numbers suggest it. And Charlotte in the last 3 games in this losing streak, they've trailed by 16 plus points at halftime in each of those 3 games. The crowd's going to be into it because the Knicks are playing the best basketball since, I don't know, Melo was there with Amari Stoudemire maybe. So I'm going to go with the Knicks first half, and I do think the full game has some value too. T-Rock's mentioned in the trifecta here, Knicks first quarter, first half, full game. You're getting no argument from me. Charlotte, when they traded Mason Plumlee, Munaf's favorite player, they basically waved the flag on the season, and they decided that they were going to go full youth movement. So maybe I'd also look for Mark Williams' rebounds because he should get a decent amount of minutes. But they have nothing to offer. They can't guard anybody. Kelly Oubre is taking 20-something shots a game at this point. They're not going to win many games. Give me the Knicks to roll here. I think they'll cover the first half spread, first quarter spread, win this game by 15.
Yeah, this is a weird sandwich spot for the New York Knicks. They had to the 2 back-to-back road games. They play this home game here, and then they head on to a 4-game West Coast road trip where they'll play Sacramento, the 2 LA teams, and then Portland. So I think obviously the effort will be here tonight. You want to get this victory against a porous team and just pile up the wins and stay, within that. What are they? I think they're 4th or 5th right now in the Eastern Conference. So I think you'll get a good effort here tonight from the New York Knicks. Delonte, what do you got for this game?
Yeah, man, the Hornets are horrible. 0-3 ATS and straight up without LaMelo. Offense has obviously struggled. They're averaging 94.3 points per game in the last 3 games. Obviously with bode well for the under, 3 straight unders. Something that the Knicks are doing well that I don't think is being talked about enough. I mean, obviously they're playing really great, but Mitchell Robinson returning is just anchoring that defense. He's cleaning up everything on the inside. He's being able to let those guards play aggressively on the defensive end, so they can take more chances knowing that Mitchell Robinson's back there to clean up, if they gamble or miss. So it's a lot easier as a defender to know, okay, I can play harder and potentially get beat when I got Mitchell Robinson on the back end who can take care of, blocking and rebounding. So I think that's a big thing for their defense, which it wasn't. Like when he first went out, I think we all documented that they were going to struggle defensively because he was the anchor of that defense. So him being back is big for them. I don't want to lay the big number, but I will roll with T-Rock on that first quarter, first half. Hornets are atrocious in the first half. I think they get outscored by probably like 5 points or 4 points per first quarter. So I like the Knicks in the first quarter. I don't hate it in the first half also, but I don't want to lay that big of a number on the road thinking, knowing they got that big road trip coming up, they might not have, incentive to win by margin here. So I like the Knicks first quarter, first half. If I had to play it, I would play the full game, but I'm not going to do it.
I feel like first half is kind of an auto play just based on the trends. You have the best first half team against the worst first half team. Like, I'm not going to overthink that part of it. Now, it has gone up a point or so, but I got it at 5.5. I think you might be able to find the 5.5. I think 6 is okay. Once again, they've trailed by 16 plus at halftime in 3 straight games. They were down to the Nets by like 30 at halftime last game on Sunday. I think if the Knicks are focused for this game, they will be up double digits at halftime. in my opinion.
Yeah, I mean, I'm not going to argue that. I think that we've seen it all season. This dates back to what, a couple seasons ago, where the Knicks were an automatic first half team on the spread. So, I think they'll be focused here. I know they're coming off of the double overtime victory, but I think they had a day in between to kind of digest it and then get focused on Charlotte here tonight before they head out for that West Coast road trip, like I mentioned. I was going to the total here, guys. Delonte, I want you to lead us off with the total. Currently sitting at 226 in this game.
Much like Scott's taking the Milwaukee and Orlando game, I would much rather have the Knicks team total over, simply because I don't trust the Hornets to be able to score any points. Like I said, they're averaging under 95 points since LaMelo's been gone. They're pretty much a high variance team. Now, if they're hitting their threes, that's the only shot they have at scoring over 100. I don't think that the Knicks defense will allow them to score from deep. They're pretty good defending the three. So I would much rather have the team total over for the Knicks. If I had to play it, I would probably lean under, thinking the Hornets just don't have enough offense to score on the Knicks, and the Knicks score maybe like 125, 126, something like that.
All right. Scott, thoughts on the total?
I think I'm going to agree. I think I'm on the under, or just because Charlotte, I watched a lot of that game against the Nets on Sunday. Damn, that was bad. That was really, really bad. They had 86 points in the entire game. The Nets were on pace to score like 140, but they took their foot off the gas. So I guess that's my concern. But Charlotte scored less than 25 points in each quarter in 2023. That's almost impossible nowadays. Like, they scored less than 25 in every quarter. I don't think I can take the over because Charlotte offensively is really not good. The first meeting in the head-to-head, one of the first couple games of the season, Charlotte did score a bunch of points and the game went to overtime. Second game, not so much. I do think Charlotte offensively is going to have some problems. And the Knicks, you talked about Robinson's rim protection. Josh Hart on ball, I think, can do a great job of really making opponents struggle with their shots. But the Hornets scored 102 in the last meeting. I think that's kind of the ballpark here. 226, that total just seems a little bit high to me. Knicks are off the double overtime game where Quickly played 55 minutes and they're trying to potentially be fatigued in the second half. I'm going to go with the under. That total seems a little bit high.
I was trying to see when was the last game LaMelo played in. So it was that Detroit game where they put up 117. But since then, like Scott's mentioning there, that 86 against the Brooklyn Nets, 106 against the Magic, and then 91 against the Phoenix Suns.
They can't score.
Yeah, they can't score. And defensively, since the All-Star break, New York Knicks number 7 as far as defensive rating in the entire association, where they are 6-0. So I think a team total Hornets under. If I don't know, want to look at a team total over in the first half for the Knicks, I think I think they'll just have their way in this game. Player props in this game. Delonte, why don't you lead us off, man?
Man, I don't have any. I don't have anything. I don't think that I don't think that the Hornets have enough worthy players. I mean, if you want to look at anything, I would look at Oubre. He's been playing well since his minutes has ramped up. I would look at him points and rebounds. On the Knicks side, okay, I do have on the Knicks side, it was even money when I bet it last night. Mitchell Robinson double-double. He's had a double-double in every game except one since he's returned. I think 5 of the last 6. I think he's returned for 6 games. He's had a double-double in 5 of those. And the first one, and the one that he didn't have a double-double in, I think was his first or second game back. So I love that if it's still even money. Even if it's at reduced, like 105, 106, I still play it there too. I don't think that the Hornets have much resistance inside except for Mark Williams, and he's kind of young, so he'll probably get into foul trouble. So I think Mitchell Robinson has some value in that double-double.
All right, Scott, you have any player props?
I think that my main player prop, I was going to mention something with Mark Williams. Now, foul trouble can be a concern, but Charlotte, that team is just letting young guys do what they want. Mark Williams' rebounds was 8.5. I think the number was a bit low since he has done a pretty good job of getting to 10 rebounds lately, but he only needs 9 to go over. I just thought 8.5 seemed like a low number to me, since Charlotte's going to have to do whatever they can to battle on the glass, and Williams is their best option. So I was kind of tempted by him. As for the others, I really found a hard time finding props on the Knicks that I actually liked, because this game does have a lot of blowout potential to it, and I do think there is a chance that the starters get pulled early. So I wasn't fully sure how to attack this. I thought maybe Randall threes, but I decided not to. Quickly props, I guess, if Brunson's out, but I don't know if Brunson's out or not, so I can't take those yet. I don't really have much in this game because, once again, I got to see if Brunson's going to play. And I'm also concerned that if you take an over with a Knicks player, you might need to do it in 3 quarters. Let's put it that way.
I was looking for some assist props for the Knicks here, but I think that, like Scott, you mentioned there, that if Brunson doesn't play, I'll probably pivot to a Manuel quickly assist props in this game. Did have 7 assists last game. Obviously, that did go into double overtime against the Boston Celtics, but he was really the guy that's been getting assists when Jalen Brunson's not in the lineup. So I think that's one way I would look in this game as far as player props. All right, guys, before we continue here, let me tell everyone about our newest sponsor here on the Sports Gambling Podcast Network, and that's going to be Shady Rays. Shady Rays is a company that has been a premium specialist, I guess, excuse me, in sunglasses and shades. Summer's coming up. The sun's going to be full blazing. And you guys need to take out or check out Shady Rays. They're an independent sunglasses company that offers a world-class product that's just as good as any expensive pair we've worn. They have durable frames and extremely clear optics for the outdoor adventures. And that's not all. Shady Rays offers the most insane protection in all of eyewear. Every pair of sunglasses is backed by the lost and broken replacements. And if you lose or break your pair, even on day one, when you get them right in the mailbox or from your delivery service, they told us that they will send you a brand new pair, no questions asked, from that very first day. Wear your Shady Rays with confidence because they have your back long after your purchase. With Shady Rays, you can look good and feel good. To date, they have also donated over 20 million meals to fight hunger with Feeding America. And if you don't love them, exchange them for a new pair or return them for free within the 30-day period. There's no risk when you shop with Shady Rays. Their team always has your backs. So since you guys listen to the Sports Gambling Podcast Network and all of the shows that we have, they have a special offer for our listeners exclusively. Shady Rays is giving their best deal of the new year. All y'all got to do is go to shadyrays.com, use promo code SGPN for 50% off when you buy 2 or more pairs of polarized sunglasses. Again, that's 50% off when you buy 2 or more pairs using promo code SGPN. Try for yourself the shades rated 5 stars by over 200,000 customers. Again, that's shadyrays.com, promo code SGPN. All right, so what we'll do here, we'll break here part 1. We'll get into part 2 for the remaining schedule of the games here on the Tuesday night card for the NBA. So this is part 1. We'll get into part 2. The NBA Gambling Podcast on the Sports Gambling Podcast Network is presented by WynnBET. WynnBET is now live in Arizona, Colorado, Indiana, Louisiana, Michigan, New Jersey, New York, Tennessee, and Virginia. For boosted same-game parlays, live in-game odds, WynnBET has what you need to win. Sign up today, bet $100, and get $100 at sportsgamblingpodcast.com/WynnBET. That's sportsgamblingpodcast.com/WYNNBET. State restrictions apply. Roster brought to you by the SGPN merch store. Head over to store.sportsgamblingpodcast.com and use promo code MADNESS for 10% off of orders of $40 or more. Again, using promo code MADNESS for 10% off of orders of $40 or more exclusively on the SGPN merch store. All right, everyone, welcome back to part 2 of the Tuesday night betting card. Let's get over to the next game on the schedule. That's going to be the Philadelphia 76ers heading up north to Minnesota here tonight to take on the Timberwolves. Looking at the opening line for this game, the Philadelphia 76ers initially opened as a 1.5-point favorite. That number has now been flipped to -2 to 2.5. On the spread in favor of the Minnesota Timberwolves. Total opened up at 229. That number has pretty much stayed the course. It's up half a tick to about 229.5. Looking at the injury report for both of these teams, for the Minnesota Timberwolves, pretty clean injury report. Jalen Noel is going to be out for the Timberwolves, and Austin Rivers is probable here tonight with neck soreness. Philly did play last night. Again, they are in a back-to-back situation. Maybe thinking Joel Embiid sits here tonight being in a back-to-back situation. But again, we'll wait for the official injury report. I think that's maybe what the line move has flipped here from the Sixers opening as a favorite and then now being an underdog of about 2.5 points here tonight. But let's start with the side here. Delonte, why don't you lead us off? Philly and Minnesota here tonight, as Minnesota is a 2.5-point home favorite.
Yeah, when I originally looked at the open of this game, I was assuming that Joel Embiid wasn't going to play, but I didn't expect it to flip to Minnesota laying 2.5 now. But Philly's played 3 straight high-level intensity games. Could be a letdown spot against a non-conference opponent. They don't. I mean, not saying they don't want to win, but they can afford to lose this one. And as we mentioned at the top of the show, they're only 1 game in the loss column back of Boston, so that kind of gives them a little bit more incentive to go out and play. They're pretty good on the road. ATS 15-14. They're also 26-18 as a favorite. Their offense has been like on fire as of late. 130 plus in 2 of those 3 games, and they're averaging 131 in the last 4 games. I do like Minnesota here simply because I think that if Embiid plays, they can afford to guard Embiid down low without help, so they can have Gobert play him down low, which pretty much sets up for everybody else to just play their guy one-on-one, which could lead to a big Harden game. But when you're playing Philly, you don't want to allow them to let Embiid get to the line and get post-up position. Now, I think Rudy Gobert can do a decent job against him in the post. Minnesota won and covered 3 in a row. They're returning home from a 4-game road trip. They looked a lot more fluid, on both sides of the ball. I think Conley's getting his foot in. They're 500 ATS at home. They do turn the ball over a lot, which could be trouble if Philly can get out and get into those guards. But Conley does a good job of protecting the ball. I don't have like extremely high I guess win percentage when betting on or against Minnesota, so take what I say with a grain of salt. I can't catch up to them, but I do like Minnesota in the spot. They combat with some of the things that Philly likes to do. They're good in half-court defense, which is what Philly wants to do offensively. They want to grind out the game. They do struggle to fit in the 3, but I think they'll be able to get here with being at home against a tired Philly team. So I like Minnesota laying the points here.
Yeah, Minnesota since the All-Star break have been actually pretty good defensively. They're number 9 as far as defensive rating goes since the All-Star break. They are 3-2 straight up. I think that I'm kind of trying to read between the lines as far as injury report goes here. I think Joel Embiid sits here tonight. You'll probably get Tobias Harris back here tonight and PJ Tucker back tonight as well, since those 2 guys didn't play last night, and they'll probably just be Harden, Maxey, and those guys starting here. So that's just my assumption here tonight. I do think that Joel Embiid probably ends up sitting here tonight. Scott, thoughts on the game here?
I'm going to lean to Minnesota in this spot. I'll back the line movement, but for me, it's not even the fact that Philly played yesterday. It's the type of game that they played yesterday. The game had 290 points. They ran up and down the court the entire time. I think they're going to be exhausted in this game. Not to mention that there's travel involved because they were in Indiana. Now they're traveling to Minnesota. I just think that Minnesota is going to come into this game with a bit more energy. I think Philly might run out of gas. And I do think that Embiid is probably not going to play. 42 points with the running up and down the court. I think that they're probably going to rest him. Maybe Harden even gets rested. Who knows? Because he had 20 assists. But I'm pivoting to Maxey in this game. I think Maxey's going to have a pretty big game. He's been very good lately. He's had what, like 25 and 4 straight, I think, or something.
Yeah, something like that. Are there any good strip clubs in Minnesota? Scott?
Wait, what?
Any good strip clubs in Minnesota?
No, but I know that it's cold as hell out there. So
yeah, Harden don't care, man.
Harden's gonna be miserable.
Yeah, no. He's gonna be in a strip club. It don't matter if there's good ones.
Harden probably called him to the room.
You're right. That's a good point.
But for me, I'm gonna go. What, room service? I think I'm gonna go with the Timberwolves in this one. The line movement kind of just tells me that Philly might be a full trap side here, and it does suggest that somebody might not be playing because of the real severity of the line move. But once again, the game landed 290, and now they're traveling the day after. I think physically Philly's going to be cooked. I'm going with Minnesota in this spot.
Yeah, I think kind of somebody knows something, obviously, when the line has flipped here, right? Especially by 3 points, or almost 3.5 points here tonight. But yeah, I got to go with Minnesota here as well. They're playing pretty good basketball, man. Anthony Edwards has looked good. Mike Conley looks like Delonte mentioned, that he's starting to find his way with this Minnesota Timberwolves team since the trade happened between them and the Utah Jazz. So I like the spot here for Minnesota. Again, not much we can go off of without knowing who's going to be in and out for the Sixers, but I do lean here with the Wolves at home here tonight. Total here tonight, guys, sitting at, what did I say, 229, did I mention? Yeah, 229.5. Any thoughts on that here, Delonte?
I'd lean over, thinking that if some of those guys, get or if they are tired, then the bench guys will come in and they'll look to just try to score. And I think Minnesota's going to have a good advantage. Philly doesn't have good rim protection, and if Embiid doesn't play, that's even more incentive for Gobert props. I know Munaf, you don't want to be on the Gobert props, but it's kind of going to be
I'm like 0 of 21 this year betting Gobert props.
It's
I
going
was
to be
0 for 2 and I quit. So.
It's gonna be a good bet, man. If he's able to not play with Embiid and not have to bang bodies with him all day. I mean, Paul Reed is definitely a step down in class, so I think he'll be able to get some offensive rebounds in the half court and in the full court. But I lean to the over. I think Minnesota's going to have a good night offensively. They are top 10 and getting to the rim. Philly can't defend the rim, 25th in rim percentage defense. So Anthony Edwards, Kyle Anderson, those guys could be in for a big night at the rim. So I'm leaning to the over, thinking there'll be some points, mostly led by Minnesota and the tempo that they're going to play at.
Yeah, I agree here as well. I was just seeing this line completely plummeted for the Bucks game. I don't know if anybody sees any news about if anybody's out here or not, but yeah, I agree about the over. I think that, or maybe a Wolves team total over. Probably don't have any rim protection here tonight for the
2.5
for the Sixers. Yeah, so going back to the Bucks game, Jrue Holiday is out. Giannis is also out here tonight, so that's why the line has plummeted. So reverse everything that we said about the Bucks game, at least now with those guys.
They still might blow those guys out.
Look, they still play well without Giannis and Jrue Holiday in the lineup. So maybe it's a Brook Lopez big game. Jrue Holiday, he's out. I'm sorry. Maybe Chris Middleton finally has a good game here tonight for them. But
Grayson Allen, 20+ points.
Wait, who just got ruled out?
Jrue Holiday and Giannis.
Oh, okay. Giannis got ruled out?
Yeah, he's out with illness.
Okay.
So getting back to the Sixers Wolves game, cover the total, cover the side. I think for player props, guys, for me, I think that, again, if Embiid does sit here tonight or even Harden, I think Schroeder's hits the nail on the head that you probably got to pivot to Maxey. So Scott mentioned that as well, whether it's his points prop or if it's even his 3-point props here tonight. So, yeah, I definitely would be on Tyrese Maxey if one of their superstars do sit here tonight. But anything else as far as player props for Delonte, you have anything? You said you mentioned Gobert, right?
Yeah, I like Gobert points and rebounds, but only if Embiid doesn't play, though. Like if Embiid does play, then I won't play it. But if he doesn't, I'll be on it. I mean, the number won't change; it'll still be the same. I like Jaden McDaniels over 11.5 points. He's over in 5 of the last 7. Good matchup for him. And actually, in one of those games, he had exactly 11. I think he scored 10 of those in like the first 2 quarters. I was on him in that game. I was so pissed that he didn't score again. But I like Jaden McDaniels, like the matchup. He should be able to get to the lane and finish. He'll hit a couple threes. We touched on Mike Conley. I also like him over 1.5 threes. He's over in 6 of the last 7. He's shooting about 5 or 6 a game. A lot of those are coming off of the double from Anthony Edwards. So he's getting wide open looks. So all he has to do is make 2. And I think you probably can just buy it up to 2 and get better odds. I think 1.5 is like minus 125, which, I mean, I don't mind that. But some people I know don't want to lay that much juice. But if you want to buy it up to 2, pretty sure you can get close to even money on it. So I like Mike Conley a lot, hitting a couple threes tonight.
Scott, any other player props you like in this game?
I think if Embiid's out, I'm on Paul Reed double-double, which I feel like has always been a good pivot when Embiid's out, and I think he had one last game. So just keep an eye on that. but I'm not sure if it'll get posted by the time that they announce Embiid playing or not, so just keep that in mind. If Harden plays, do I think Minnesota is going to let him actually score? Because I feel like I have to blindly take assists again. But if Embiid's out, then maybe Harden shoots the ball more. I think it's mostly Maxey, just the more that I think about it. I don't think that Minnesota's got any people that are quick enough to actually stay with him. Maxey's been an offensive machine lately. I'd probably look for him. Gobert, none of us are taking because I got no faith in him either. I think that's basically it. I think it's mostly Maxey or a Paul Reed pivot if Embiid's out.
Yeah. All right. Before we continue here, guys, let me tell everyone about our presenting sponsor here. That's going to be WinBet. WinBet is the official online sportsbook of the Sports Gambling Podcast Network. WinBet is active in a bunch of states, and there are a ton of ways to win, including live betting and same game parlays, aka WinBets. Build your own bet. March Madness is almost here. Plus, plenty of ways to win getting down on the NBA, NHL, and XFL. Sign up today to receive a special offer. Bet 100 and get 100. Limited state availability. And of course, for our DGens only, if you hit the biggest long shot parlay of the week, you get $1,000 free credit. There's so much to choose from. All you have to do is head over to sportsgamblingpodcast.com/winbet so they know that we sent you. That's sportsgamblingpodcast.com/WINNBET. Offer subject to change. Terms and conditions at winbet.com. Must be 21 years or older and present in a state where playthrough WinBet is available. If you're or someone you know has a gambling problem, call 1-800-522-4700. All right, gentlemen, let's get over to the next game on the board. That's going to be the Golden State Warriors in Oklahoma City here tonight to take on the Thunder. This line opened up in favor of the Golden State Warriors at -4. That number has now stayed pretty much its course at -4. Do see some -4.5 starting to pop up. Total opened up at 241. The number's been bet up to 242.5. Do see some 243s out there as well. Looking at the injury report for both of these squads. Starting here with the road team, the Golden State Warriors, Draymond is probable. Andre Iguodala is probable. The only players that are going to be out for this game is Andrew Wiggins, out with personal reasons. And then Gary Payton II is also out for this game. For the OKC Thunder, pretty clean injury report. Jalen Williams is officially questionable here tonight with a right wrist sprain. That's going to be the Jalen, Jalen, Jalen Williams.
The important one.
The important one?
Yeah, that's the important. Is that the important one? Yeah, that is. That's J-Dub, right?
I don't know. You
the guard.
Know.
Yeah, that's the guard. That's the important one.
Yeah. All right. Scott, why don't you lead us off with this game? Let's call it -4 right now over on WinBet for the Warriors in Oklahoma City here tonight.
I find this one very tricky because Golden State's fared pretty well against OKC, but I still hate this Golden State team on the road. And I still think they're just a highly overrated team. I don't think that Golden State's very good. I know that they ended up winning a couple of games when Curry was out. Then Curry came back. They lost to the Lakers, but it feels like a common theme for the Warriors is they trail by double digits in the first half and they find a way back to win the game. A lot of money on the over. It's up to 243, which doesn't surprise me because each of the first two meetings landed 248 or higher. But I think I'm actually going to lean to OKC in this one. I feel like most people are going to blindly take the Warriors because, Curry's back and they're going to be able to get back on track. Are we sure about that? Like, they're 3 games over 500. They're 7-24 straight up on the road. I don't care how good your pedigree is, historically speaking. If you're 7-24 on the road, I'm not going to lay points with you on the road. I think I'm going to go with OKC. Shai's playing in this game, correct?
Shai is playing, yes, sir.
So I'm going to go with Shai. I'm going to go with Shai to have a pretty big game. I know Jalen Williams had a pretty big game last time out too, but I think I'm going to lean to OKC here. People are going to take Golden State. If they want to, that's fine. And I think that the over makes a lot of sense because I don't see much defense being played. But I can't lay 4.5 with Golden State on the road. I just can't do that. Give me OKC at home. Lean to the money line, actually, is a bit of a decent plus price.
Delonte, what do you got?
Yeah, I'm probably going to be against Scott here. Actually, Golden State's probably one of my favorite plays on the board. They won and covered 4 of the last 5. They won and covered both meetings with Oklahoma City. I know that they're horrible on the road. ATS 9-22, if I'm not mistaken. But as of late, their defense has been elite. Like the last 5 games, they're allowing 105 points or under in 4 of the last 5. Allowed under 100 twice. The thing with this matchup is they don't defend the 3. I think the second matchup, which like the most recent one, is the game that Clay hit 12 threes and then Dame hit like 16 the next night. So I think it's a big Steph Curry game. The Golden State third quarters might be back. Last 3 games, I think they're 28. They outscored opponents 28-21, which is, okay. But then they go 42-16, 39-17. And I think both of those games were without Steph. So I think it's a big Steph game. Don't see a lot of advantages for OKC, especially without J-Dub, because, he does a lot of the dirty work, a lot of the ball handling whenever Shea's off the floor. OKC, they've won and covered their last 2, but both were against Utah. I think both without marketing, if I'm not mistaken. But prior to that, they were 0-3 straight up in ATS. I know a lot of that was without SGA. So it's not a coincidence that they picked up, offensively. We all know they're great at home, but some of the stuff that like Golden State doesn't do well, Oklahoma doesn't do well on offense. Like they can't finish at the rim. They're 30th in rim percentage offense, which is Golden State's weakness. They don't have any rim protection. So they look to push off of steals and run in the transition, but they can't do that if Golden State is elite in defending after turnovers. So I like the spot for the Warriors. I think, like I said, I think it's going to be a big Steph game. I don't see any path to like them slowing down those guys from 3. So I like the Warriors here a lot. I would probably lean to the under also, thinking that Oklahoma City struggles offensively against the way Golden State has been playing defensively.
Yeah, I like the Warriors here tonight as well. They've won 8 straight games against this Thunder team at a minimum of at least 8 points. And if we talk about the games in OKC, earlier this season, January 30th, they won that game by 8 points. Last season, they won by double digits. Prior to that, they won by 8. So I think that I know it took probably, well, it was Steph Curry coming back in that Lakers game. The rust obviously was there for him, right? When you miss about a month plus. But I think they can get back on track here, especially I think Curry still had a game, a pretty good game in that second half. So I think Warriors come out here, take care of business here. Again, I'm going to just ride this hot streak here for the Warriors at -4 right now. I do like the under in this game as well. Like Delonte, you were mentioning that this the Warriors defense has been, I think, the best in the league since the All-Star break. So I think for me, it's under as well. It's a big number, and I think this season we've traditionally seen where totals above 240 or a lot of them have gone under the total. So if you probably want to play an over, maybe look at the Warriors team total to go over, but I think they climb down on defense as well. Like I mentioned, they have a defensive rating of 105.1 since the All-Star break, which is number 1 in the entire league. This again, like I said, since the break. Let's get into some player props here. Scott, do you have anything for this game?
Oh, you mentioned the threes, so I feel like taking Clay and Steph threes against OKC has been a pretty profitable move. I don't mind Curry assists. I think it's at around 5.5. Historically speaking, he's done quite well facilitating against the Thunder, so I do think that's a pretty solid play. To go through the last 3 games against the Thunder, 12 assists, 10 assists, 6 assists. Now, I'm assuming he'll probably play around 32 minutes, so I do think that number seems a little bit low. Shea points I'm kind of tempted by. I think that he's going to be able to get to the rim, and I think that Golden State's going to struggle to stay in front of him. So I'll go with Shea over as well. But for the most part, I think that's basically it. I know Draymond rebounds and assists have done quite well against the Thunder in the past, so that's potentially worth a look. But I think it's mostly going to be Curry assists for me.
Devontae.
Yeah, I'm on the Steph Curry trifecta, man. Points over, threes over, points, rebounds, and assists over. I think it's a big Steph game. I don't think that they'll be able to stay in front. Usually they use J-Dub as the primary defender whenever they're playing against an elite guard. If he's in, I mean, he's got a banged up wrist, so I'm not sure how effective he's going to be. And I think this might be the first encounter that he has with Steph Curry, which is probably not going to be a good one after Steph struggled against the Lakers. So I think that Steph has a humongous game. I'm also leaning to Giddey over 14.5 rebounds and assists. He's over in his last 3 games. Probably will be more like in a facilitating and rebound role without Jalen Williams on the floor. Even if he's in, he'll probably be hobbled, so won't be looking to do as much. So I think Giddey takes over some of those rebounding roles. He had 15 and 14 rebounds and assists in the 2 previous matchups against Golden State. So I like him over 14.5 rebounds and assists.
Nick pointing out Steph Curry triple-double 60-1 last two games against OKC, 8-9-10, and then 38-8-12. Falling a little bit short of those triple doubles. Yeah, I don't hate that. I love that Draymond look. Yeah, Draymond look that Scott just mentioned. Rebounds and assists to go over. I think that number's at 14.5 in this game. He's pretty much cleared this number in 6 straight games here, or 6 of the last 7 games against the OKC Thunder. Last game he had 10 rebounds, 4 assists, just fell 1 short. So I think that's
this is his kind of game because they don't have a traditional big. So it's basically like they're playing like Golden State could play their style of basketball with Draymond at the 5 and not be at a disadvantage on the defensive ends. So that bodes well for matchup wise for Golden State also.
Yep. All right, guys, let's get over to the next game of the night. It's going to be the Brooklyn Nets in Houston here tonight to take on the Rockets. Looking at the opening line for this game, this line opened up in favor of the Brooklyn Nets at -6. That number has pretty much stayed the course at -6. Total opened up at 228.5. That number's up to 230.5 and 231 at some spots. Looking at the injury report for both of these teams, for the Brooklyn Nets, I am currently seeing obviously no Ben Simmons, and that's pretty much it for them. For the Rockets, they're a healthy squad. Everybody's got a go in this game. Scott, why don't you lead us off with this game? -6 in favor of the Brooklyn Nets in Houston here tonight.
Well, as tempting as it is to take the Rockets, who had a nice weekend beating the Spurs twice. Congratulations.
2-game win streak, baby.
That's right.
They won both games by like 20. But I'm going to go with the Nets in this one. I still don't think Houston's good. I don't think anybody does. Kevin Porter Jr. might put up a decent stat line, but then it's defensively. They've been a bit hit or miss, but they've been better lately. But it's mostly just the fact that Houston can't guard anybody. They're a glorified AAU team. We've said this before. And with Şengün basically being the center of this team or being a power forward, they don't have any real size on the interior, at least that can play defense. I like Şengün a lot, but defensively he's horrible. So, and Jabari Smith, I don't really like either. I think he's a relatively raw prospect. I'm going to go with the Nets. They were struggling. They had the big comeback win against Boston on Friday. They kind of parlayed that over into a win against the bottom feeder against Charlotte. They were up by 30 at the half, basically. I'm going to go with the Nets. I just think that even though the Rockets beat up on the Spurs twice, congrats, the Spurs are not a real basketball team. Doesn't mean anything to me. I think the Nets come out, and I think they win this game comfortably. Fading the Rockets, there's a lot worse ways to spend your money. I'll keep doing it. I'll take the Nets. And plus, since you have a swap, aren't you in theory rooting for well, it's not going to matter because the Nets will probably make the playoffs anyway, but whatever. I just think at the end of the day, the Nets should get the job done. Keyword should, but the spread seems a little low.
Delonte.
I got absolutely nothing on this game. Please do not watch this game. You can do a lot better things with your life. There's plenty of, you can watch, some WAC games. There's a Summit League game. Oral Roberts is playing. Vermont is playing. You can spend your time doing a lot more efficient
You're advertising
things.
A Binghamton basketball game over Nets Rockets, really?
Man. I'd rather watch Vermont run it up against Binghamton than watch the Nets and Rockets play them. So I'm sorry, Munaf. I really am. But if I had to play anything, I'd lay it with the Nets. I mean, they play well defensively against Boston. They allowed like 105 points, if I'm not mistaken.
And they were awful in the first half, and they woke up in the second half to guard.
Right. So I think they do have an advantage on the inside with Claxton. So I'll be looking at some Claxton props. I do like Tari Eason. I'm not sure. I don't see any props for him yet, but I do like his points, rebounds, and assists. I think it's a big game for him. Other than that, I'd lean to the Nets. Please do not watch this game. I'm begging you.
Yeah, I think it might just be a good game for player props if you want to bet it. Guys pointing out, I think the Rockets are the worst rebounding 3-point defense since the All-Star break. They're giving up about 17 makes per game. So if you want to look at Cam Johnson, KW franchise pointing out Bridges 2.5 threes at plus 185, 1.5 at minus 188. I think that's a way to look. Jalen Green as well. He's pointing out, over 2.5 threes at plus 106. I don't hate that. I'm
do they
with
love Jalen
you.
Green in Houston, Munaf? Do they like Jalen Green? Do the fans like Jalen Green?
He's a highlight player, can score, but
the jury's still out, I think, for him. Again, I think we'll find out a lot more about in the offseason if they do make a coaching change, but I think they will. We've seen flash last year. He was a cash cow over on his points prop after the All-Star break, where he was, I think, easily getting to 30 points a night when they finally decided to sit Eric Gordon and some of the vets and just let Jalen Green do his thing. So, yeah, I think that he definitely has a potential. He probably just needs some more coaching up and just more playing time. But I think that he'll obviously definitely be part of this the future of the franchise. But Tari Eason, you mentioned, yeah, I've been backing him in the last couple of games. Shout out to my guy Mitch. He found his points and rebounds to go over 17 and a half the last 2 games, and he's cleared those numbers.
Yep.
He's been playing well. Last 5 games, about close to 16 points per game and 8.4 rebounds. So once that does pop up, probably closer to game time for Tari Eason,
I will
be on that over for sure.
I'm with you.
Yeah. Anything else for this game, guys?
Nothing.
For me, I see a couple of props I'm kind
Oh,
of
sorry.
tempted by.
Go ahead.
So starting off, I do think there's value on Dimwitty, either assists at 7.5 at plus money, or maybe even double at plus 360. The assists have been there. People have been distracted by the Mikal Bridges points, but I will point out that Dimwitty has had at least 8 assists in each of the last 5 games. He had 24, 8, and 8. It's especially weird since they were up by 30 at the half against Charlotte, and he still played 39 minutes, which I'm still confused by. But the point is, he has put up some good numbers lately, and we know Houston doesn't guard anybody, especially at the guard position. I do think you're going to end up seeing Dinwiddie have a good game. I saw double-double at around plus 360, but he could get the assist at 7.5 over at plus 110. I don't mind that. I'm also looking at Kenyon Martin Jr., over 13.5 points at around minus 115. He's had at least 14 points in 14 of his last 17 games, and he's played at least 31 minutes in 11 of his last 14. I know he's going to have less shots because Porter Jr. and Jalen Green are back, but 13.5 seems very low for a guy that's actually willing to go to the rim, and he gets fouled a decent amount. He's aggressive, and I don't know if it matters, but his dad's best team was the Nets. Maybe that has something. Maybe that leads to some kind of good performance. But
gotta find the edge, however you can find it.
Maybe.
I'm with you, Scott.
The point is, he's had at least 14 and 14 of the last 17 games, and his number's 13.5. I just think that number's too low. I'll go with the over on Kenyon Martin Jr. points.
Yeah, I don't hate that. Again, you're right that he's one of the guys that does actually go towards the basket and try to bring the rim down. Yeah, definitely I can see that for sure for KJ Martin here tonight. All right, guys. 2 games left on the schedule here. Let's go to the next one. Let's go to the Dallas Mavericks here tonight. They're hosting the Utah Jazz in this game. Looking at the opening line for this game, the Dallas Mavericks opened up as a 6.5-point home favorite. That number's been bet up to -9 now. Total opened up at 232. That number's all the way up to 238.5. Still see some 238s out there as well. Looking at the injury report for both of these teams, for the Utah Jazz, Walker Kessler is officially questionable here tonight with a non-COVID related illness. Colin Sexton is going to be out for this game. He's dealing with a left hamstring strain. For the Dallas Mavericks, Maxi Kleber is questionable here tonight. He's dealing with the right hamstring injury. And then JaVale McGee is questionable here tonight with a right ankle sprain. But everybody else is a go for this Dallas Mavericks team. Scott, why don't you lead us off with this game? Dallas laying at 9 points here, hosting the Utah Jazz.
Yeah, like I'm going to lay 9 points with Dallas at home against Utah. I'm going to lean to the Jazz plus the points. My favorite play was the over. It was at 234.5 on the overnight. Now it's 237.5, so I don't even know if I even want to bother, but I don't see much defense being played. Dallas has been a blind over team since Kyrie got there, and every game's basically gone over. We saw that on Sunday against the Suns. That game got into the 240s. Nobody guarded anybody the entire game. I like the over. I see points anyway, but I do think there's some value on Utah. I have a hard time laying points with Dallas, and they can't stop anybody. Now, the counter argument is Utah can't stop anybody either. I see a potentially huge game for Walker Kessler, just because Dallas doesn't have really anybody in the middle, and I think that Kessler can just sit there in the paint and stack up blocks and rebounds. Market and double-double, I think, might have some value too. But on principle, I'm going to lean to Utah plus the points. Dallas is so bad ATS at home, there's no way in hell I can back them in the spot, and I will lean to the over. I just see a lot of points between these two teams.
This might just be a repeat of what we saw between the Sixers and the Pacers last night, with the amount of points that were being put up. But I mean, I'm still not afraid of this big number here between the Dallas Mavericks and the Jazz. I mean, they've been going, or at least the Dallas Mavericks can total since the trade of any type of defense whatsoever. In these Jazz, maybe worth a look here tonight. I think they can get over that number. As far as the side, I'm in agreement with Scott. I mean, I'm not laying 9 points with the Dallas Mavericks, especially with their home record has been, especially against at home, right, as a home favorite. And Utah, we talked about we'll call it the Terrell rule here. Back them when they're underdogs, fade them when they're favorites. So I think that's in full effect here. Delonte, what do you got?
Honestly, I was going to lay it with Dallas. Like at I laid 6 on the open, but I have no idea why it's 9 right now. I was thinking maybe Laurie was out, but that's the only reason that the line would move that much. But he's not out, so I don't understand. So I'll probably just lean to the Jazz. I do think Dallas has extreme advantages with their guards. The Utah guards are pretty young, and Kyrie and Luka should dominate them. They don't. We all know that they're first in half court points per possession, points per play. Utah is horrible defensively, even worse in the half court, the 23rd in half court defensive efficiency. So I think the Mavericks do have some advantages, but I just can't lay 9 points. I mean, they're coming off playing 4 high level games in a row where they went 1-3 ATS in that span. The defense has been atrocious, 120 plus allowed in the last 3 games. So 4 of the last 5 and went over. I don't trust the Mavericks to win by margin with this big of a margin. That means double digits. They got to win by double digits. But I would probably look at Dallas first quarter, first half, if anything, and then come back with Utah in the second half if I had to do anything. But I think it's like you said, it's going to be a high scoring affair, which means the range of outcomes increases a ton. I lean to the Jazz, but I'll probably be on the Mavericks first quarter, first half.
All right. We talked about the total. Let's get into some player props here, if any. Scott, do you have any player props you like in this game?
I was tempted by Luka 3-pointers, which I saw at around 2.5. It was juice. He was around -135. But to go through the numbers for Luka, he's made at least 3 threes in 3 of the last 4 games. He's attempted at least 8 3-pointers in each of the last 4. I believe he went 1 for 9 against Phoenix on Sunday. And against Utah in his career has done well. He's made at least 3 3-pointers in 4 of his last 5 games against the Jazz. Luka might go for 40 in this game. I don't think it would surprise anybody. But 2.5 threes seems a little bit low for a guy that jacks up a bunch of volume. I'll take the over Luka threes.
Yeah, that number's like Scott said, at 2.5 right now, -135. Delonte, player props in this game, if any?
Yeah, I mentioned how how Utah is bad at defending the mid range. Also, I like Kyrie over 25.5 points. He's had 70 combined points in the last 2 games. I think it's a good matchup for him with Utah's defense struggling against the mid range and guards. They don't defend guards well. They're 25th in mid range percentage defense, which is where Kyrie lives at. I also like Luka over 7.5 rebounds. He's over in 3 of the last 5. He had 7 in the 5th game, so he could have went over in that game also. But Utah allows a lot of rebounds to guards. In 2 previous matchups, SGA had 7 in one of those games, and Giddey had 9 and 11 in the 2 matchups. So I think Luka's a little bit better rebounder than both of those guys, so he should be able to clear this with ease.
Yep. I didn't have a lot of player props. I was looking at Walker Kessler, but I think his props got pulled because he's officially questionable here tonight. But initially, when I was looking, I did see his blocks at 2.5 at +125. If that does reappear, I will jump back on that player prop here tonight. Laurie rebounds. If Kessler doesn't go, I think that number was at 8.5. I think he could get a double here tonight as well. But yeah, that's all I had. KW franchise also pointing out, yeah, Laurie rebounds 10 or more at +125 here tonight. So
Not bad.
yeah, don't hate it. All right, last game of the night, gentlemen. We've got the Memphis Grizzlies in LA here tonight to take on the Lakers in this game. This number opened up in favor of the LA Lakers, -1.5. That number is now down to around a pick. Also starting to see some spots where Memphis starting to get favored by -1. Total opened up at 226. That number's been bet down to around 224.5. Looking at the injury report for both of these teams, Steven Adams continues to be out. Brandon Clark, we know, is gone for the rest of the season. Jake LaRivia is questionable here tonight. Obviously, we know John Morant is not with the team right now. For the Los Angeles Lakers, Mo Bamba is out tonight. LeBron continues to be out. And Anthony Davis is probable. And D'Angelo Russell is actually upgraded to questionable here tonight. He's dealing with that right ankle sprain. Let's call it right now. Currently over on win bet for this game. It's actually at a pick right now. So, Delonte, why don't you lose off with this game between the Grizzlies and the Lakers?
Yeah, I like the Lakers here. I don't like anything that's going on with Memphis right now, whether it's on the court or off the court. I think they're trending in the wrong direction. They lost 2 straight. Almost 40% of their points came in the third quarter of the last game. So basically, I think they scored like 51 against the Clippers in the last game. The offense hasn't looked fluid at all. They lack explosion for obvious reasons. Tyus did play pretty good in relief of Ja. I'm not sure he can keep up. I think he had like 26 and 11 or 26 and 13 or something like that. I'm not
25
sure.
and 12, I think.
There
Or
we go.
25
Right
and
in the
10.
middle.
But he
There
had a
we go.
great game.
Yeah, so I don't think he'll be able to sustain that. Maybe like 15 and 8 or something like that. But I like the Lakers here. I think they've been up and down the last few games, but AD has been a monster, mostly defensively. He's averaging 35 and 11 since the LeBron injury. So he's been really assertive. I like how the guards are playing with Schroeder, Reeves, and now getting D'Lo back is just add another playmaker. I don't think that Memphis is going to be the same defensively without Brandon Clark running that second unit. I mean, he's pretty valuable to their team. A lot of people wouldn't, the casual NBA fan wouldn't think so, but he is valuable to what they do as far as rim protection, rim running. Um, I just don't think that Memphis has enough playmakers to be able to create off the dribble without Ja on the floor. I like the Lakers here. I think they revenged that loss that they had maybe like a week and a half ago. Um, they're playing semi well. Just got to get to some consistency. And with D'Lo back in the lineup, I like them a lot here tonight.
Yeah, Lakers have been playing really good defense since the All-Star break. Number 4 in the entire league as far as defensive rating goes. And we saw what Memphis was able to do against a porous defense like the Clippers, who are number 29. So I think there's obviously a night and day difference of where those two teams are defensively. And I think that if the Lakers are going to win this game, it's going to have to be like the type of victory that they had against the Golden State Warriors, where it can be a high scoring game. And they have to clamp down on defense and just play good half court basketball through Anthony Davis. And like you mentioned there, Delonte, that Anthony Davis his numbers have looked really good without LeBron James this season, averaging close to 30 points and 15 rebounds. In a matchup earlier this
39 against Golden State.
Yeah, he had 39 against Golden State and then 38 in the previous game against Minnesota. And then I was going to mention that against Memphis, he had 28 points and 19 rebounds in that game. So, without Steven Adams in this game, I think that Anthony Davis, again, should dominate in this game. Hopefully they get D'Lo back here tonight to give him another playmaker like Delonte mentioned. But Dennis Schroeder mentioned this on the Monday pod that he was absolutely incredible defensively down the stretch against Steph Curry and the Warriors that really, created that separation towards the end there. But I think that Lakers continue to roll here tonight. I'll take them as currently now they're at a 1 point underdog. So I'll take the Lakers here as well. Scott, what do you got?
Yeah, I'm going to go with the Lakers as well. Memphis, even with that massive 51-point quarter against the Clippers, they still lost the game. Tyus Jones did have 25 and 12, by the way, just for reference. I'm not exactly totally surprised because I'm actually a pretty big Tyus Jones fan from what I've seen in the last couple of years. But I am going to go with the Lakers in the spot. Memphis is terrible on the road. They are 12 and 20 straight up on the highway. They've lost each of their last 2 games against the Nuggets and the Clippers on the road. So they were in LA, but they ended up losing that game, but they didn't have to travel back to Memphis. But the Lakers were also in LA because they played at home back-to-back games. But I'm just going with the Lakers because with the Grizzlies missing Adams and now missing Clark, they're pretty short-handed on the front lines. You're going to be looking at Jaren Jackson and Xavier Tillman. Is that basically it? I believe Roddy got the start against the Clippers. So they're really short-handed in the front court, which is a really bad sign for them against the Lakers. But the Lakers are playing decent basketball. The Grizzlies are not. Ja's not playing, obviously. Might get suspended for 50 games. We'll see what happens there. I'm going to go with the Lakers. I just feel like at home it's a good spot for them to get revenge or to avenge the loss they had to this team about a week or two ago. Give me the Lakers.
All right. Let's get to the total here. It's currently sitting at 224.5. Any thoughts there here, Scott?
I'm really torn on this one because the Lakers want to play slower based on how they play offense with AD as their main option. But Memphis has been willing to run lately, or maybe that was just the Clippers because the Clippers have been an over machine lately. I think I'm going to lean to the under. And I'm just going to hope that with all the people being out for Memphis, the offense looks like garbage. And I'm hoping that AD and Vanderbilt defensively can really just shut down anything in the paint. I'm going to lean under and hope for an ugly game, but I don't feel great about it. But I guess I'll lean under, hoping the Lakers, who usually play fast, will play slower because they need to, and AD might get hurt running up and down the court. So I think they're going to go with a slower pace game. I'm going to lean to the under.
Yeah, I like the under in this game, actually. It's actually come down from where I played at 226.5 last night. So money has it coming in on the under again. Like I think that if the Lakers do win this game, it's gonna have to be one of those 109, 105 type of victories where it does go under the total. They can't get into a shootout with any teams, especially without LeBron in the lineup. Delonte, thoughts on the total?
Yeah, I'm with you guys. I like the under a lot. Like you said, if the Lakers dictate the pace and they want to play at how they really want to play through AD, I think they have to slow it down. AD inside, I mean, Jaren Jackson is. I'm not sure if they're going to start Jaren Jackson on him simply because they know he'll get into early foul trouble. So likely going to be going against Tillman and some of those other guys. They might throw in some zone, but yeah, I like the under here. I think both offenses struggle against each other, against each other's defense. The Grizzlies still without Josh still pretty elite defensively, so that's not going to change. And the Lakers defend the three well. If Bane and Kennard can't get going from three, I'm not sure if they have any other options as far as like scoring wise. So yeah, I like the under here.
Scott, you already mentioned the total, right?
Yeah, I'm going to go with the under.
Player props, if anything, in this game, Scott?
Player props in this game is pretty tricky. Tyus Jones assists, I think I'm looking at no matter what, because he has always been a great assist to turnover guy, and I do think that he's going to have the ball in his hands a lot, especially after that game he had last time out. Besides that, Anthony Davis for points. I know he was bad against this team last meeting, but I do think at the end of the day, with a limited front line and how often Jackson's in foul trouble, he really might just get a serious mismatch against Tillman or maybe even Roddy, but I got to go with Davis points here. I think he's going to have a good matchup here. Besides that, I really don't have much else, but I think it's mostly going to be Tyus Jones assists and 80 points. Or rebounds, if you want to throw in that for 80 as well.
Yeah. Delonte?
Yeah, I'm with you. I play Tyus Jones, points and assists. The Lakers don't do a good job of defending point guards. So I think, like you said, he's going to have the ball in his hands. They don't have a lot of facilitating guys, so he's going to have to get those guys going, Kennard and Bane off of screens, off of pin down. So I like him over points and assists. I think that number is, let me get it.
Yes, I had 23.5, if I'm not mistaken.
Yep, 23.5. I like that. And I like AD over 42.5. I've been playing it since LeBron's been out. He's been crushing it. He's going to have to, he has to dominate. And if you think the Lakers are going to win, they're not going to win without AD having a monster night. So I like his points and rebounds over 42.5, which is up from, it used to be, it was 40.5 the past 3 games. And now they bumped it up a little bit. So.
Yeah, I mean, you got to continue riding Anthony Davis here tonight. There's no question. Averaging, like I mentioned, close to 30 points per game, and then 15 rebounds without LeBron in the lineup this season. So the number is currently sitting at 28.5 for his points. His rebounds, I think I started at 13.5, if I'm not mistaken. But I agree about the Tyus Jones as well. If you want to pivot off of a rebound prop, maybe Jared Vanderbilt is a good look here tonight as well as far as rebounds go. That number is at, I think it was at 8.5, if I'm not mistaken. 8.5 at -105. So that may be worth a look here tonight as well for Jared Vanderbilt on his rebounds. Anything else for this game, guys?
I don't have anything else.
Yep, me either.
All right, before we get into our lock and dog for tonight, let me tell everyone about the newest sponsor on the Sports Gambling Podcast Network. That's going to be Shady Rays. Summer's right about a couple months away, and you're probably looking for some new shades to protect your eyes from that sun, or you're going on vacation. Maybe it's on the West Coast, or maybe go head to Cancun or Cabo somewhere, and you need to get to some sunglasses. Shady Rays is your place where you need to check them out. They are an independent sunglasses company that offers a world-class product that's just as good as any expensive pair we've worn. They're durable frames and they're extremely clear optics for outdoor adventures. And that's not all. Shady Rays offers the most insane protection in all of eyewear. Every pair of sunglasses is backed by their lost and broken replacements. And if you lose or break your pair, even on the very first day that you receive them in the mail, they told us that they will send you a brand new pair, no questions asked. Wear your Shady Rays with confidence because they have your back long after you make your purchase. They've also donated over 20 million meals to fight hunger with Feeding America. So if you don't love your Shady Rays sunglasses, exchange them for a new pair or return them for free within the 30-day window period. There's no risk when you shop at Shady Rays. Their team always has your back. And exclusively for our listeners, Shady Rays is giving out their best deal of the new year. Go to shadyrays.com and use promo code SGPN for 50% off on 2 or more pairs of polarized sunglasses. Try for yourself the shades rated 5 stars by over 200,000 people. Again, that's shadyrays.com, promo code SGPN. All right, guys, let's get into our lock and dog for tonight. Delonte, why don't you lead us off, man?
Yeah, man. I mean, I'll keep it simple. I like I see the Lakers at plus money. At even money on the money line. So I'll take that as my dog. We literally just went over all the handicap as to why I like that. So I won't delve back into that. But for the lock, I like the Warriors minus. Is it 4.5?
Let me see
I see some 4.
here.
Let's see some 4.5s.
I see a 4 on WinBet.
Yeah, so I'll lay the 4 with the Warriors. Like the matchup for them, the recent success they've had. I think it's going to translate with Steph Curry back in the lineup. I think he's going to have a barrage of threes. Big Steph Curry night. So I love the Warriors laying the points here and the Lakers on the money line.
All right, Scott, what do you got?
All right. So for my lock on this one, I gave out the Knicks on YouTube first half, so I'm gonna pick something else. I'm actually gonna go with the Lakers as my lock here. You said the money line was even money.
Yeah, it's around even money.
Yeah,
I'll take the Lakers. Yeah.
Yeah.
I'll go with them on the money line. I just think at the end of the day, the Grizzlies are so bad on the road that I want nothing to do with them. Now, Brandon Clark's out, Ja's out indefinitely. The team has a lot of distractions going on, and the Lakers have been playing good basketball lately. I think this line's just too short, especially when you're against Anthony Davis and you're missing a couple of front court options. And Clark, I think, has some value, and Adams, of course, is still out. Give me the Lakers money line at even money. I just think that's a good price.
All right, and for your dog.
So my dog, I'm going to go with a player prop here. I mentioned it before. I am going to go with Spencer Dinwiddie over 7.5 assists at plus 110. The number just seems too low to me, or I like the value a lot. He's had at least 8 assists in each of the last 5 games, and he's played a bunch of minutes. He played 39 minutes in a blowout win against the Hornets, 36 minutes against Boston, 35 minutes against Milwaukee, 41 minutes against Atlanta. He plays a bunch of minutes, but I feel like most people have completely just underrated or just not even noticed how good of a facilitator Dinwiddie's been with this team. And if you want to look at his head-to-head numbers against the Rockets, recently not the greatest game, but he has had a fair share of assist games with 10 or so assists. He's had 3 games in his career since 2019 with 10-plus assists, but Dallas, we know he was playing second fiddle. So if you want to go back to his time in Brooklyn, he did have 10-plus assists in 2 of his last 3 games against the Rockets as a member of the Nets. 7.5, though, at plus 110, I think it's good value. I'll take the over on that for Dinwiddie assists.
All right. All right. For my lock, I think I'm in agreement with Delonte about the Warriors here tonight. I'll take the -4. Like I mentioned, they've won, I think, was it 8 straight against this Thunder team, and they've won each of those games by a minimum of 8 points. Probably took a game for Steph Curry to get his legs back under him and, just cut it to game speed again and get that rust off. So I think that, he'll have a better game here tonight for sure against the Oklahoma City Thunder. And again, like we mentioned, the Golden State Warriors are the best team as far as defensive rating since the All-Star break. So their defense travels, like we like to say. So I think they'll they'll do a great job against the OKC Thunder offense here tonight. And we know about how good this offense is for the Warriors. I think they'll be on full display here tonight. So I think they get the victory here. I'll take the -4 as my lock. For my dog, I'm also going to go with the player prop here. I'm going to go with the Lauri Markkanen double-double. That's currently at plus 135. Walker Kessler was officially on the injury report with an illness. I see his player props did get pulled. But I think it's a game where Markkanen we know he gets the points. I think that with Kessler possibly being out. The rebounds are going to be up for grabs as well. So, Markkanen is no stranger to getting those double-doubles, especially with rebounds this season. I think he's averaging close to 8.5 per game this season for the Jazz, and I think that he'll be able to take advantage of those opportunities. He's had a double-double in 4 of the last 5 games, has Lauri Markkanen. So I think that continues here tonight against the Dallas Mavericks, where we're expecting to see a lot of points and a lot of pace possibly in this game as well. So again, those shots will be plenty, and the rebounding opportunities will be a plenty as well. So Lauri Markkanen double-double plus 135 for my dog here tonight.
I like that. I like that a lot.
Yeah. All right, guys, that's going to do it for this edition of the NBA Gambling Podcast. Delonte, anything else we need to mention before we get out of here, my man?
Nah, not at all, man. Shop around, make sure you get the best number, and let's get some winners.
Yes, sir. Scott, anything else, buddy?
No, just a fun card. Looking forward to it. I'll probably be watching hockey, to be honest with you, or college basketball. But hopefully make some money, and looking forward to, recapping some of the games. I'm not on tomorrow's show, right? I'm on the Thursday show now?
Yeah, you're on with me on Thursday, and then Delonte and Terrell will be on the Wednesday show.
Yeah, so I don't want to recap these games tomorrow anyway. So I'll be back on Thursday, and I'll be doing a tennis podcast later tonight for Indian Wells. So if you want some tennis breakdowns, outrights have been cooking. Hit 2 outrights last week. So hopefully we'll pick a winner here, but we'll be doing a tennis podcast tonight.
Yeah, definitely check out Scott on the Tennis Gambling Podcast. He's been crushing it over the last month or so, even beyond that. But definitely check him out. He'll put out a new pod for the Indian Wells tournament here tonight, like he mentioned. Make sure to follow Delonte on Twitter at xxlanteXX. Follow me on Twitter at SportsNerd824. Follow Scott on Twitter at Reichel Radio. And like I mentioned, Delonte and Terrell will be back for tomorrow's show for the Wednesday games, and they'll recap what we saw in the association here tonight. Good luck with your bets here tonight. Let's break these books off and let it ride.